More about your specific experience with this?
Yes, the sulfuric acid tank and the acid delivery system on a lost cabin. One of the things I did, no one was injured or nothing like what it is you said,
Right.
but it was brought up that we should need to have safety splash guards. And so I worked with HSC, and it was collectively decided, it wasn't all my idea, that we should have splash guards anytime we enter the acid pit. Because we had so many leaks before we converted over to CPVC that we were constantly having to work on things, and we didn't want an operator or an engineer or anybody to open up the pump box and get sprayed with sulfuric acid. So HSC installed a box which had safety shields, so you just put it over your safety helmet and put the guard down. And it became a rule, if you're going to go into the acid pit, just stop at the box, get yourself a safety shield. And so I think that would eliminate the possibility of someone looking like Frankenstein at the end of the day.
And then just going back to the hypothetical situation, so then you're saying there wouldn't be any sort of reprimand associated with the specific employee, or how do you regard what to do as far as OSHA is concerned with that situation?
First off, my experiences in working with maintenance and operators is no one really tries to do anything on purpose to get hurt. So anything like these kind of things, what it is you're talking about, it's an accident. So really, no one's really reprimanded. It's I've never seen someone reprimand unless they're blatantly, I guess they would be blatantly careless to the point where they know someone's going to get hurt. And I think the organizations I've worked in, everyone, it's been a common number, everyone's really and truly trying to work safely. So I've not seen a reprimand. I've seen an accident, accidents happen, or near misses as they're called. And then we get together and discuss and try to figure out what can be done so that near miss doesn't happen.
Okay. And then as far as hours go, let's say, I'll throw out another hypothetical. So let's say you have a wonderful vacation planned, maybe to Disney World or something, and I know that there are times where there is the ability to work on weekends or holidays can be essential. So how do you deal with the situation where you have something planned way in advance as far as time off, and then all of a sudden an urgent need comes up, and how have you dealt with situations like that in the past?
Well, I haven't had too many of those, but usually I'm able to pitch in and put off my personal adventures and personal plans to contribute to the company. There are a couple of incidences where that's not possible. For example, if I was getting up on the rocket ship and going as an astronaut to the moon, I probably won't be able to stop and pitch in.
Is that a frequent occurrence?
I applied for the job.
Would love to.
I did apply for the astronaut job. I didn't get it, but had a trip to the Space Center. It was great.
Okay.
All right. Do you have any experience with SAP?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you use that?
Out of ConocoPhillips, everything is done through SAP. The work orders, the purchasing, your timesheets, everything is on the SAP platform. I don't want to say that I'm an expert at SAP, but I muddle my way through, to be honest, like most engineers. But to be direct, my SAP skills have come way up. So it's not foreign to me. Obviously, anybody that's on SAP for any length of time knows that it's not user-friendly, but I know the basics and I know how to get things done, and if I have any questions, I know the resources to go to make things happen in SAP, so they will be done correctly.
What system did you use at Island?
Well, they weren't on SAP.
Right.
It would be, when I was placed on site, the engineering consultants, it was whatever platform they had, and they were not on SAP.
Oh, so Island put you as a consultant firm, and you went to all of these different places.
Right, and most of those positions were in an office. There were times where I was actually out at an ethanol plant or a refinery, but never full-time on the operations side of the business until the assignment lost cap.
Okay. Tell me about, you said we had some near misses, we had some potential disasters, and this industry is fraught with those sorts of things. It's one of the most hazardous industries to work in the country. Tell me about a time when a mistake was made and somebody did get hurt. Tell me about a time when a mistake was made, and I don't know. We've got so many petrochemical things going on right now from that natural gas leak in California.
Right, sure.
So have you worked somewhere where there was a huge problem, and not that you necessarily were able to resolve it, but what was your role after that?
There was a fire out at Lost Cabin, and this actually happened before I took the job. During the interview, I did not bring it up at all because I felt it would be a very sore point. It's all on the web for anybody to see. If you Google Lost Cabin gas plant, 4 people were burned very bad and helicoptered to Gasper. I felt that it would be inappropriate to bring it up in the interview because people were hurt pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Did you learn when you went to work there? Did you learn what had caused all that?
Yes.
What was it?
And it was during a turnaround during one of the trains. It had to do with the flange management system, and they made changes to the flange management system to prevent that occurrence from ever happening again. It was in the early morning hours, like from 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning before the sun came up. And what they thought was blocked off wasn't. And since then, they've implemented this new flange management plan where certain areas can't be charged with residue gases, sales gases, CO2, whatever. So it can avoid having this whole situation.
So there are controls. There are controls put on that. So
yes,
like electronic controls or something to keep that from happening?
Certain sections are blocked off, blinded off, and then there's a flange management system that they use to tape all flanges in such a way that if a flange has a leak, the tape's going to peel off because the gases are leaking through the flange. And so they went through this whole protocol on blinding certain areas so that there wouldn't be a flash fire like what did you see posted in the news clipping in the areas where people are getting work done.
Okay. In this particular, do you know this, in this particular company, do you use extruder machines to make the PVC pipe? Is that what they're doing?
I need to do the homework on that. I need to figure out how the resin is made, and so I've done some studying on the chloroalkali, the VCM and the PVC. I still need to do some studies on and ask questions and figure out what's involved in that process and all the safety implications and handling of the fluids that are of concern.
So there's resins, but injection molding equipment?
I'm familiar with injection molding.
Oh, you are?
Yes, from the automotive industry.
But from where?
The automotive industry.
Oh, okay.
Injection molding machines, I've seen the machines very small to big ones for an instrument panel for a vehicle where they have cooling lines coming into. So I'm familiar with injection molding.
Okay, just not extruders.
I've seen some extruders, but obviously I need to come up to speed on the specific technology with the PVC at this plant.
Right. Are you going to be if you get this job, are you going to be in charge of the process of when different components are added to the chemicals and making sure that process goes well?
I'll be looked on upon. I pride myself in being looked upon as a technical steward for the technology.
Okay. Jan?
Yeah, so one of the things that's definitely involved is detailed scopes of work. So what are some of the challenges that you have seen in the past with difficult scopes of work, and what have you done to overcome some of those challenges that you face?
I think well-defined scope is what everybody wants, and when that can't happen, I think what I need to do is get all of the stakeholders and trades, piping, electrical, mechanical involved so that it's going to become very clear or clearer what is going to be involved in the scope of work to try to define that. And if then still there's some nebulae involved, what I will do is bake in some other tasks in addition to build some float in the schedule and the budget to pick up that nebulae areas in the scope definition to avoid problems with the schedule and the budget in completing the goals, completing the project.
So that challenge that you had faced in the past with that, which stakeholder or stakeholders were missing?
Stakeholders were not missing. There just wasn't clear definition in certain areas of the scope development that probably could have been avoided, but was not.
So what preventive measures did you put in place to make sure that those scope nebulous items wouldn't occur again on other projects?
Well, after one project, what I decided to do is put in, I don't want to call them dummy tasks, but extra tasks and extra budget to be able to pick up unexpected stuffs that we all know are going to come down because we did our best with the scope definition. We took it to where we could. The project had to go forward because we needed to get this done. And we all knew, all the stakeholders and the senior project manager knew full well that we took the scope definition as far as we could. So we have to add in some auxiliary, I don't want to call them dummy tasks, auxiliary tasks and auxiliary budgetary items, and include it in the schedule so that we can come out and show that we're going to complete the project within the budget and schedule responsibly and safely.
So if we, so I'll just make this up. So we have variance that we always track with each of these projects.
Sure.
So are you saying that the variance then was off because of these, aka dummy tasks? Or are you saying that because you had these dummy tasks in there, you met your projection? So which way did that end up being?
Well, okay, I guess I'm not being real clear. I was working on a project with Chicago Public Schools.
Mm-hmm.
Those projects are very challenging to work on. Most of them are over budget, beyond schedules. And my first project, I didn't meet the schedule, I didn't meet the budget. It's a very problematic client. And I was told that you're going to have problems working on these kind of projects if you continue. And so it was a big lesson learned. The owner of the firm was not upset with me directly, but said, okay, well, we need to have more, he needs to have more school on his firm's site. So he needs to do more projects. How are we going to handle this so he doesn't take a loss? So then we decided in a subsequent school project with Chicago Public Schools, we have to build in these auxiliary tasks and this auxiliary budget and this time frame, because they're going to come down and they're going to beat on us to take funds out, and they're going to beat on us to do more.
Okay.
And so we already need to have this and say, okay, all right, when this does happen, we're going to be able to pick up that variance and still be able to bring the project in. So it was the lessons learned from one project that did not go well. And then from that lessons learned, this is what we had to do. And then eventually at some point, he didn't want to take on any more Chicago Public Schools projects, but it was a big learning experience for me.
So you padded it, you padded the.
Exactly, you have
Padded it.
to. You have to make money, and it's specific to that client because that school system is filled with a lot of problems.
One of the things that we're looking for is somebody who has demonstrated managerial courage, who's been willing to take a stand on issues that perhaps are not popular, to take negative action when necessary. Tell us about a time when you feel you demonstrated managerial courage.
Okay. I think the not from a personnel standpoint, I've not had to do that, but from a technical standpoint, I have. And one of the things was the converting